Hello there, and welcome to another edition of Language Bites, this weekly video where you let me, Cata, enter into the comfort of your homes to explore some aspect of the English language together. Today, we're going to take a look at the passive with a twist. Let's take a look at the passive with perfect tenses. So, this is going to be especially useful, as you know, or as you probably know, because the passive is one of those structures that we use when we need to shift the focus, perhaps from the doer of the action, the subject, to the object or the action itself. And the result is this impersonal style, which is extremely useful when we want to achieve a more formal register. And as we'll see today, this structure is useful when creating a certain distance. But we've got plenty of minutes ahead, so let's dive right into it. We're going to take a look at the passive forms. And we begin by means of this example. 8 applications have been received. If we take a look at the elements, we find, on the one hand, have been, and we immediately spot that the combination of the auxiliary have or has with the past participle results in the present perfect. But that's not the end. It continues later on into a passive construction, that of the verb to be, of course, under the influence of have, as we mentioned before, and the past participle of the verb, in this case, received, which is a regular verb. But see how all the elements coexist to create this structure. Now, other forms include that of modals. Your timesheet should have received by now, should have been, sorry, received by now. Once again, we find the same elements have been and received, but with should. The modal verb, it adds another layer of meaning, another attitude on the part of the speaker. And we find, I'm delighted to have been offered the post, but unfortunately I must decline. Here, what we've got is a case of a passive perfect infinitive, needed or required because of delighted. And the structure it is, as you can see, to have been and then the past participle. Again, all of the elements together. And last, we find the passive perfect ing form, in this case, in the place of a gerund. Having been offered the options, Jim chose the cheapest. So we are all talking about something that happened in the past or didn't happen, as in the case of the first. Your timesheet should have been received by now. It implies that it actually wasn't. Now, let's talk about objects. As you know, objects are particularly necessary when creating a passive construction. Sometimes we've got 2 objects. Someone at the door gave us a handout. Here I find 2 objects. Us, the indirect object, and then a handout, the direct one. And here is where we have options. Because depending on where we want to put the focus, the structure we are going to create. If I want to draw the attention of the listener or my reader on the fact that it was us, then I'm going to say, we were given a handout. If, on the contrary, perhaps that's not the most important thing, and I want to draw the attention to the fact that it was a handout and not something else, I'll say or I'll express this idea by means of a handout was given to us. So it becomes a sort of subject in the passive form. Here, the examples are given in the past simple or in the past simple form of the passive because the original was in that tense. But of course, we can make any changes that we please. We have been given or handout had been given, whatever the case. Now, some verbs like fall don't take an object. They are what we call intransitive verbs. So those verbs cannot be made into the passive. They have to stay in the active, or well, if we have to look for other means. Now, what are the uses of the passive voice? We addressed some of them at the very beginning, but now we're going to actually dive into them. For example, the office has been redecorated. It looks so much better than before. This is the case of the focus on the action. I'm not mentioning who redecorated the office because it's not relevant, or I don't know, or I don't care. So, another case, results for the first quarter were published on April the 6th. Here, I am achieving an impersonal style. Again, it may not be relevant who published the results. The important thing is the action. They were published. Usually it's not relevant or it doesn't carry much meaning. It doesn't change the meaning, or sometimes we don't even know, as I said before. And in this idea of impersonal style, we can say, and take a look at this, how different it would be to say, I'll have to make redundancies, it will affect some of you. This is, on the one hand, active and so completely personal. I'm putting myself in the focus. I have to make some redundancies, and it, my decision, will affect some of you. This is a very sensitive topic to be said like this. The passive appears and helps achieve this impersonal style and soften, in this case, the message. And so I say, regrettably, redundancies will have to be made. Some of those sitting here will be affected. So it's evident and it's obvious, we all know that someone will make these redundancies, but we are not putting that into focus. So I'm creating this distance. Let's explore some more uses. We asked for ways to improve, that's a typo, customer relations. Making changes to our complaints procedure was suggested by several respondents. What we are doing here is linking. I am bringing this to this making changes to our complaints procedure. I'm bringing this to the very beginning because this is the most relevant aspect I want to highlight, I want to draw your attention to. And then I'm leaving the information of who, which becomes the agent in these sentences, to the end. And I'm introducing by means of by. We can report by means of the passive as well. For example, I've been asked to write you a reference. Again, I'm not saying who asked, because of all the reasons we mentioned before. And let's take a look at this example. Jim told Carol the likely result of the restructuring. Perhaps this information is sensitive, confidential, irrelevant. And so we can say Carol was told the likely result of the restructuring. Now, mind you, not all verbs accept this. For example, agree, allege, announce, argue, claim, decide, predict, report, say, state, and suggest. They don't take these indirect object. So we report them, or we, yes, passive report them by means of it plus the verb to be, the past participle, and that. It was alleged that you stole the money. Or again, remember we can make all of the changes in tense that we want to. It has been alleged that, it had been alleged that, it will be alleged that, depending on the tense. So bear in mind the form of the passive, bear in mind the style that you achieve when using it, use it in your favor, and how your message may come across as formal, which is a good thing. It's something required in many contexts, such as reports or certain emails. And bear it in mind when reporting. Now, as you know, practice makes perfect. So, as usual, in the description box down below, you'll find two activities on today's topic. But as always, since you're here, stay a little longer and watch another one of our videos. In any case, thanks for watching this one. Bye.